Everyone. Happy New Year and happy 2025. It is the first episode of the Happy Wife School Show for 2025 and excited to be here after a nice break for Christmas and New Year. I missed being with you guys, but it was also nice to have a little bit of a break and come back fresh and new for the new year. So I'm going to hop over to the chat just to make sure you guys can see me, hear me, everything is coming through okay. I want to say welcome if you're new to the Happy Wife School and this is your first time joining a live episode. It's really nice to have you. We've got a lot of new subscribers thanks to a video that did really well last week. That was a nice way to end the year. And just want to say thank you to Phil and Steve for moderating and keeping the chat a great place to be. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you, Phil, coming through loud and clear. Awesome. Phil is going to be sending me questions today. Evo's not able to be here. So Phil's going to fill in, no pun intended, for Evo and send me some questions at the end of the live show. So he'll be collecting those throughout the broadcast today. And just hi to Memphis Barbecue, to JoJo, to Tia. So nice to have you here and all the ladies who join for the live show. It's always great to see you guys. And I read through your comments at the end because I can't read through it all while I am live. But you guys just make the show a great place to be. And I'm going to pop that down and I'll take a look at the end of the show. But a couple of announcements before I get started. Remember, we take the live show. My awesome assistant, Chelsea, takes the live shows and edits them down to post them on Spotify. So if you don't like the announcements in the beginning or me answering questions at the end, you can always check out the podcast version of this episode. We post those on Wednesdays. So like today's show will be posted on Wednesday, and you can find that on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. So if you prefer that format, just know that that is there for you. Also, over the Christmas and New Year break, we finally got the happywifeschool.com up and running. So my website, which was very outdated and incongruent with the channel, has been replaced with a new website. So if you go to KarenSites.com, you go to the happywifeschool.com, you're going to see a brand new website that matches the channel and talks about the different courses that we offer. We don't have all the course pages up yet, but we have the two that are most relevant to my shows and what I talk about up so that you can read through them, learn about them, apply if you are interested. So please go check that out. Also, if you have a chronic illness or your spouse has a chronic illness like depression or anxiety or chronic pain or ADD or ADHD, or you have an autoimmune disease like fibromyalgia or Graves' disease or Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis, and you have gone to the doctors, you've gone to alternative health practitioners, nothing has worked for you to resolve and heal, you want to go check out my colleague and good friend Josie's YouTube channel, which she is changing the name to Beyond Remission, a new era of permanent healing. And Josie teaches people through her educational programs how to permanently heal and resolve their conditions by working on the emotional state. So please go check out Josie's channel. She is amazing and has wonderful things to teach and share so that you can heal. So with all of that being said, we're going to get into our topic today, which is Dear Wife, open your eyes and heart to the man I truly am. And for those who are new or maybe need the reminder, my channel is for women married to good men and good men married to women, suffering and challenged with the dynamics that we have between each other in a relationship. And as women, it is our unhappiness in ourselves and living in camp victim, blaming everyone else and our husbands for our unhappiness in the state of the marriage. And when you are married to a good man as a woman, when you work on yourself to be happy and feel good about yourself and live in camp, take responsibility, the issues in the marriage easily resolve. And the good man that you married is right there waiting for you. That is who my message is for. My message is not for women married to bad boys or abusive men or narcissistic men. And as women, we know whether we married good men or not. We lose sight of the good man that we married over the years, which I'm going to get a little more into today. But we know, and if you want to be confused, you will be confused because you don't want to take responsibility and you don't want to take accountability. The reason that I want to talk about this topic today, dear wife, open your eyes and heart to the man that I truly am, that over this holiday season, with all the challenges and ups and downs that the holiday season brings, which I shared about in the last episode of 2024, I had a wonderful realization of how much of my time I spend in my marriage appreciating and seeing and loving my husband for who he truly is. And that was a really special experience for me, that my love and appreciation for my husband is deepening and growing and expanding even more than I have known it to be for a bit now, for quite a few years now, but had a new level just of appreciation for the man that he is. So thank you, Adam. And realizing in the core of what I teach is that when we are unhappy as women and don't feel good about ourselves, we project that onto our husbands, and that is the lens that we see them through, which prevents us from loving them and appreciating them and showing them affection and gratitude for who they are and valuing who they are as our husbands. When we learn to be happy in ourselves and feel good about who we are, and care for ourselves and show ourselves that we are important to us, then we start projecting our happiness and feeling good about ourselves onto our husbands. And I've had a deepening of that experience in myself and realizing now how much I project how good I feel about myself and my own happiness onto my husband in our marriage, and can see more and more each day the wonderful man that he is and all he does to contribute to our marriage to make it wonderful, and truly value him. And I want other women to have that experience, and I sure want the good men out there to have that experience as well, so that marriage can be a wonderful, wonderful place to be and to grow and to learn. Where we are headed today, after a little bit of setup, as I usually do, we're headed to what started out as 10 things turned into 20. Where we are headed a little later in the show are 20 things your husband wish you knew about him. 20 things your husband wish you knew about him. So that's where we're headed. But the problem is, as women, we are so selfish. We are so self-centered and so entrenched in camp victim, blaming our husbands for the issues and problems in the marriage, that we can only see the negative. We are only focused on the problems. We are only focused on our husband's shortcomings and faults, that we cannot see any of the good things that our husband does in the marriage, and we cannot value them. All the things that a good man does and all the things that he is as a good man go unnoticed and unappreciated. So men in a marriage get disillusioned and wonder what happened to the woman that they married. Because before getting married, because we wanted the marriage and we thought a marriage and our husbands were supposed to make us happy, yet we were unhappy in ourselves. So we all know no one and no thing can make us happy. So when it doesn't work out that the marriage and our husbands can't make us happy, living in camp victim, we blame them for our experience, and we stop and the facade comes down, we stop being the woman that our husbands married and thought that they were marrying. So they become very disillusioned, wondering what happened to us, what happened to the best friend relationship we had before we got married, because men truly think when they got married that they would have a wife who was going to be a team player and be collaborative and even compromise and work with them to make a successful marriage and have what I talk about, the dance. But as women, when we are focused on all the negative, we have no ability to have a healthy relationship with our husbands where we are a team and have a dance. Because there's no way that we can appreciate and value any aspect of our husbands because, again, we're focused on all the negative and how our husbands are the sole problem in the relationship. And we're so focused on what they need to change, we think they need to become, what they need to fix for the marriage to be good. And there can be no healthy relationship from that place living in Camp Victim. And men are so unappreciated and so disrespected in the marriage that they are actually, and you will read this in the comments, and I'm sure men will share this in the chat now, they're so unappreciated and so disrespected that they are satisfied with crumbs that we will give them. They don't expect or want a lot, and it doesn't take a lot for them to feel appreciated and loved. They will take breadcrumbs. But in reality, they deserve to be treated with the utmost care, kindness, appreciation, and fairness. And the sad truth is that good men live in a quiet desperation and in a quandary for what happened to the woman they fell in love with and what have they possibly done wrong that she's become so difficult and so unhappy. So ladies, in a quiet moment, if you as a wife are willing to sit down, zip it, and listen and actually really hear your husband, this is what he would want you to know. That despite the issues and the faults that you focus on, these are the 20 qualities your husband has as a good man when you stop blaming, criticizing, and finding all that is wrong. So I'm sharing 20 things your husband wish you knew about him. And of course, I think the most important is number 20 and saving the best for last. So it is crucial that you listen to this whole list to know and open up to see who your husband truly is. And in working with hundreds of good men in my courses, this is what they have shared with me in a very sensitive and vulnerable way, because these are the things that have been beaten out of them, that they have lost touch with because of how much they have been blamed and portrayed by their wives and society that they are the problem. And in usual fashion in my lives, depending on the topic, it can be a little more vulnerable. And obviously today, this topic is a little more vulnerable to me because I am sharing on the behalf of good men. And what I do and the message I have is very important to me to get out to women that can hear me to get out to good men, because so many good men are suffering and disconnected and lost and depressed in life at the hands of us as women, as their wives or ex-wives or even girlfriends. And we have immense power and ability to begin to change this just by being kind and learning to live in camp, take responsibility, and seeing good men as the good men that they are. So I am sharing this on behalf of good men again, and excuse me if I'm a little vulnerable in doing that. But these are the 20 things your husband wish you knew about him as a good man, and I'm going to share from their perspective. And again, these are what men have shared with me in my courses that they sometimes struggle to reconnect with and really see, but it is the core of who they are as a good man. And I'm just going to read the 20 because they are powerful and speak for themselves. Number 1, I am introspective, admit when I am wrong, and am willing to make changes. Number 2, I am a good and straightforward communicator. I say what I mean without any hidden messages or games. Number 3 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I act morally in recognizing right from wrong and good from evil. Number 4, I am even-tempered, slow to anger, and not easily offended. Number 5, I am trustworthy, I can keep a secret, and my friends and loved ones can trust me. Number 6 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I am a big picture person and can see and know what is best for our family long term. I know that making short-term choices that might feel good in the moment may not be the best in the long run. Number 7, I am able to disagree without being disagreeable. And this man shared most of the time. So as I go through this, good men aren't perfect and never claim to be, but this is the core of who they are. Number 8 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I am very easy to please and appreciative of all the blessings and good things in my life. Number 9, I love for my wife and children to be happy and cared for. I enjoy providing for the needs of my family. Number 10, I find great joy in making others laugh and feel less worried in life. Number 11 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I always want what is best for my wife and my family. Number 12, I have a good and kind heart. Number 13, I work hard and always try to improve myself. Number 14 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I fully support my wife and always provide her encouragement in whatever she does. Number 15, as a father, I want my children to be set up and prepared for a successful life. Number 16 of what your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. I forgive things very quickly and easily and rarely hold a grudge. I do not live in the past. Number 17, I am an independent person that is willing to do what it takes to get things done and willing to take full responsibility for my own actions. Number 18, I always do my best to uphold my integrity, word, and character. Number 19, I am in tune with my family's needs, usually to a fault, sacrificing my own needs. And number 20 of what your husband wishes you knew about him as a good man, which is the most important. I will sacrifice myself and my own desires to uphold my vows and my responsibility to my marriage. So again, these are the 20 things that your husband wish you knew about him as a good man. That as women, through our emasculation of them, manipulation, living in camp victims, seeing them as the problem, we beat out of our husbands, have lost sight of, and cannot see because we can only see through that lens of negativity. But what I just described and the 20 things your husband wish you knew about him as a good man, which again started as a list of 10, then moved to a list of 15, and then we ended up with 20, is the core of who a good man is. And it doesn't mean he's perfect or that he doesn't stray from this or make mistakes or lose sight of his character and constantly being blamed and treated as the problem in the relationship. But this is the nature and core of who a good man is. So as a woman, when you sit in confusion, not understanding, well, what is a good man? These are the qualities and characteristics and who you married if you married a good man. And I know, and I like to give a solution for women and a solution for men. And part of the solution for women and what I have to address is I know some men are going to share this video with their wives because of that quiet desperation that they live in, wanting their wives back. The woman that they married, wanting a successful marriage, will be very courageous and brave to share this, to fight for their relationship, to fight for themselves, to fight for their wives. And some of you women who will watch this will think, as I have read through that list of 20, that's not my husband. That's not who he is. He's not the man I married. He changed. He used to be those things. And you need to understand that when we live in what I call camp victim, blaming them for the problem, or the problems in the marriage and wanting them to change, one of two things happen. That because of the negative picture we paint of our husbands, we render ourselves incapable of seeing the wonderful qualities that they bring into the relationship and the good men that they are. And we see through a totally false reality, which is really kind of scary. And a good man is trying and doing the things and doing what his wife asks of him to try to make her happy. And it completely goes over our heads. So that's one scenario, that this is the man you're married to, but you've disillusioned yourself and can't see it. Or the second, and potentially why you can't see these values in your husband anymore and characteristics of him as a good man, is because you have beaten it out of him and he has given up. There comes a point where he can only be told he is wrong so many times, only to be withheld sex, affection, appreciation, respect for so long before he will throw his hands up and give up. And this is not how he shows up in the marriage any longer. And I have a solution for men in that too. Stick with me, because you won't feel good about yourself in that. But in speaking to the women, we have to first realize the walls we have put up, how we've pushed them away, recognizing they maybe have given up, or we have rendered ourselves incapable of seeing these qualities in them. And we have to move from camp victim to camp take responsibility and have an openness and a willingness to see our side of the street of how we are showing up and how we are contributing and creating the issues and problems in a relationship. And as I always say, not to make ourselves bad or wrong, not to beat ourselves up or blame ourselves. That's not take responsibility. Blaming ourselves has no place in the process of taking responsibility. It is a experience of being humble, vulnerable, and willing to admit our wrongdoings, which is a sign of strength and character and integrity, to be willing to admit our own shortcomings and see ourselves as the problem so we can be the solution. And in moving from camp victim to camp take responsibility, it is done in what I teach in my happiness course for women, which you can go to the link below to apply, or go to thehappywifeschool.com to learn more about, is the process of building a relationship with ourselves to feel good about who we are and to provide ourselves the things that make us feel good that we always wanted a man or another to provide to us, but they can't. We can't recognize when they are even doing those things if we're not providing them first to ourselves. And through that process, we can look at ourselves and take responsibility for our own experience of being unhappy in the marriage and in our lives and other relationships, that it's not happening to us. And when you do that, if the marriage is not too far gone and your husband hasn't given up to the point of no return, this good man will be right there waiting for you and eager to re-engage with you in the relationship, because it's all he ever wanted was for you to be happy and for you both to work together as a team, as a husband and a wife in your roles and responsibilities, and have a loving, intimate, healthy marriage. That's what he wants. He needs a willing partner, and it starts with you and building a healthy relationship with yourself so that you can participate with him in a healthy way, and with his nature being these 20 qualities that I talked about today and characteristics, you can have a lovely, lovely marriage and a dance. So for the men listening, for many of you, and I know this through the men I've worked with in my course and have seen it time and time again now, and all that you as the audience share in the comments. For many of you, you've forgotten that this is who you are. And you may have listened to that list of 20 and thought of all the ways you are not that, and the ways you have failed, and think of all the things you've done and had the yeah buts in your head. A yeah, but I lost my temper and got really angry, and I don't have patience anymore. Or I've withdrawn and I've shut down. I'm not there anymore. That's what happens to a good man when, as women, we emasculate you and weaken you and make you feel and gaslight you to believe that you are the problem. On top of that, when you don't have that strength in yourself and can't take that objective stand back to see it is your wife and her unhappiness and it's not you, when you don't have the ability to do that because you can't see it and you haven't had the education and the training to see it, sadly, what happens is, as a woman, and I know this in myself too in the past, that as a woman, your wife pokes and provokes you to elicit the behaviors from you that she can use against you. Whether that's you losing your temper and getting angry and yelling. Whether that's pushing you and provoking you to be distant and withdrawn from the relationship. Pushing you and provoking you to where you might say something hurtful that then goes on her Rolodex of hurts forever. Or you stop being engaged as a father or a provider. Or you struggle to keep a job. You have to see the reality and understand how your wife, as a woman, can elicit those behaviors and patterns from you to use against you so that you no longer give her that power and use her as your greatest teacher, your greatest resistance to be the good man you are for you, in spite of how she treats you and gaslights you to be the problem. That is how you take your power back and find your strength and confidence in yourself as a good man again. When you unknowingly have allowed her to beat you down, which is why I have the Happy Wife School, which is both for women and for good men. I'm trying to wake the women up, but as much as I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to help good men see the reality of how you've given your power away unknowingly, so you no longer give her that power. And you don't re-engage and reconnect with these qualities to appease your wife and try to make her happy. You do it for yourself, to be true to who you are as a good man, so you feel good about yourself. You know you're in integrity with yourself, and your wife no longer has the power. So you reconnect with this as who you are for yourself, so you can break out of the gaslighting that you are the problem. Every time your wife can elicit a quality out of you that goes against who you are in your nature as a good man, she's winning. When you use her as your greatest teacher and your resistance to say, no, I'm not going to lose my cool right now. I see exactly what she's doing. And I'm going to stay calm. And I'm going to calmly walk away until she's ready, if ever, to have a civil conversation about this. Or I'm going to go do the things to care for myself and support myself and fill my gas tank, even if she's going to be angry at me, because that's reasonable and what I need to do for myself. That's how you take your power back. You don't want to get stuck in being a victim to your wife that she has done this to you. And of course, you have choice. I teach good men, once you see the reality, you have to make a choice based on your values of what's most important to you. Some men choose to leave because they don't want to be with an emasculating woman who beats them down and treats them and pushes them to a point of losing the connection to who they are as a good man. For some men, based on their values, whether as a dad or a Christian or their faith, choose to stay in spite of their wife not changing and being who she is, but they become strong and confident in themselves, so she's no longer got them by you know what. So that is the solution for men and what we teach in our men's course, which again, you can apply for in the link below or go to thehappywifeschool.com to learn more about. And that's the show. That's the show today. That's the first show of 2025. Thank you guys so much for being here with me and being patient as I worked through some vulnerability today and sharing this topic and getting the wheels greased again. I was a little scared. I'm like, God, am I going to remember how to do this today? Because it had been, I think, 3 weeks since the last time I was live, or actually it was a month ago. So, but thank you so much for being here. Please consider liking this video, subscribing if you haven't already, sharing this video if you know someone that it could help or someone that needs to hear the message. And again, this will be on Spotify and Apple sometime this Wednesday if you prefer that podcast version to listen to again for yourself or to share with another. So I will now hop over to the chat for a moment. Phil's gonna send me some questions. Thank you, Phil. And I'll see what's there that would be good to answer. Yeah, get back into this. So, all right, coming over to the chat. I think I'm still live. Am I still live? Okay. So the chat wasn't moving. I was like, oh no. Thank you so much, Phil, for your continued generosity. It's so appreciated. Karen, your message is striking many chords today. Good. It's always nice to see that. So, sometimes I'll be talking. It's like, is this coming out okay? Is this connecting with anyone? So I appreciate that, Phil. Always nice to have that outside confirmation. All right. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Alien. Thank you for your service. You're very welcome. Or you might be talking to someone else who is in service, like Luke Nielsen. Great to have you here today. Thank you so much for your continued support. Brian, Happy New Year. You are welcome. Okay, great question. Seeing it right away, Phil. I found this one in the chat. How do I get my wife to be accountable? Great question. A common question many good men have. You can't. You can, and this is what I teach in the course, is a roadmap for good men to fight for the marriage and rock the boat to see if their wife is going to be willing to be accountable. But not all women are going to be willing to be accountable. So here's my breakdown, and some of you have heard this before, and I've added a new twist to it. 50% of women have absolutely no interest in seeing anything about themselves that is in a bad light of how they contribute to the problems in the marriage. They will turn their head. They will say awful things about me. If you try to share my videos or podcast or message, say I'm a woman hater and anti-woman and all the things, and get really upset and shut that door, and they're never, ever going to look at themselves. So that's 50% of women, just a reality. 50% of women will be open to my message, and only about 2% will be open right away to my message. The other 48% might take them a video or two of being really pissed and triggered to come around and say, oh, I'm pissed and triggered because she's speaking truth. And they can see that and recognize that. Of that 50% of women who will be open to my message, only 25% of those women will actually take steps to change. So they might see themselves and know, oh yeah, I do that, but they're not willing to take that next step and be accountable and change. It's just a reality. So the only person we have any control over to change is ourselves. So I share with good men, you fight for your marriage to see, is your wife going to be willing to be accountable? And if not, you know the reality of your wife as a woman, that she's not willing to take accountability. And it is not helpful to you, to her, to the marriage to continue to try to get her to take accountability. It will exasperate the issues and create more animosity and hurt and discord that is necessary. And that's where a good man has to make a decision. And again, based on your values, you can go check out Should I Get a Divorce? A decision-making model for good men under the live episode tab, or in Spotify or Apple, and listen to the podcast version. You have to know your values. If you find out you're married to a woman who's not willing to take accountability, you don't want to end up a victim. You don't want to end up in camp victim, angry and bitter and jaded. You have to know what are your values. Once you know the reality of your wife, is your value to, and her not being willing to take accountability, is your value to start fresh and learn and grow from the experience, and you value your mental health and well-being and no longer want to be in a marriage with a woman who's unwilling to take responsibility or accountability, or because of being a dad, because of your religion or faith and your relationship with God or Christ, that you decide that you are staying. But now you know the reality, and you have to learn to manage the relationship, that it's no longer worth it to poke the bear and push her to be accountable, because it will make things worse for you and worse for the marriage. So you have to learn to manage the relationship if that is your choice, so that you are growing and learning from it. And again, not living in camp victim as a man. So that's what we teach in our men's course, which again, you can go check out on the website and learn more about. So thanks for that question. That's a good one, and one we get a lot. So I'm going to head over here and see what Phil has sent my way. So thank you, Phil. All right, here we are. Oh, thank you, Chris. So Phil sent a great comment from Chris Ignacio. I think I said that correctly. Karen, your heart beams through your videos. It is a beautiful thing. Thank you very, very, very much. Will my course, thank you for the question, Mike Daugherty. Will my course for men help with healing? I feel so dead inside, like I've lost my sense of self. Yeah. You're not alone. It's never fun to see those comments, knowing how prevalent that experience is for men. So, Mike, you're not alone. And yes, the prominent value in transformation and taking the course for men is it is a healing process. Yes, it teaches you a roadmap of how to constructively navigate your marriage and have healthy boundaries. But underneath that, and to me, what's even more important for men is it is a healing process to undo the brainwashing and almost deprogram from how you have been gaslit to believe that you are the problem, and to teach you how to reconnect with yourself again so you feel good about yourself and do the things you need to do to care for yourself so that you have the emotional resilience and tenacity to navigate your marriage or potentially navigate a divorce. So it is a healing process and a healing program, as much as a roadmap of how to navigate and fight for your marriage, to see if your wife is going to be willing to step up to the plate and change. It is not a save your marriage course, because not all men are going to be married to a woman who is going to come around and re-engage and want to change. So it is a course that deals with reality, what is the reality of your marriage and the woman you are married to. And then knowing that reality, then how do you navigate for yourself and know what you need to do? Thank you very much, Sonia. Happy New Year, Karen. Yep, it's Paul. I see you're still championing this great cause. Stay strong in 2025. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, good question. What is the best way to red pill a wife who is skeptical of anything their husband suggests? So again, along the lines of the first question I answered, if your wife doesn't want to be red pilled, she's not going to be red pilled. So you have to be willing to take that risk to present her with my videos or with content that helps her see the truth of how she's showing up in the marriage. And whether she takes that red pill or not is solely up to her. And there's nothing you can do to make that happen. So you have to be willing to take the risk, share, and then brace for what comes after and seeing the reality. I have another episode that's really important for good men to watch. Warning, what you need to know about sharing my videos with your wife. I think it's episode 23. And I only know that because I recently spoke to a gentleman who had just watched that and was referencing the episode number. So thank you very much, sir. I believe that's episode 23. Let's see. Yeah, good questions and a lot of the same answers. How can I open my wife's eyes to the fact that when we have an argument, she only remembers my negative reaction, but never remembers she is the one who started the argument? So good question. Again, if your wife is willing to open her eyes to that, she will. Your job as a good man is to learn, because what she's trying to do that gives her the power and control and the ammo and the relationship is she is trying to elicit a negative reaction from you. So your strength comes from learning, not for her, for you. So you're not giving your power away. How to be calm and grounded in yourself in the face of the crazy making your wife is pulling to elicit a negative reaction. I really enjoy, and my husband and I actually just watched it this week. I really enjoy the movie, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, and the way of the samurai and their ability to be calm, grounded, and in honor, even in the face of battle and war, and being even faced with being killed. They remain very calm, strong, and grounded in themselves. And so I often say a good man's journey in his marriage is to become the samurai, that you are not going into a power struggle with your wife and getting pulled into that crazy making to elicit the negative reaction. You're never going to be perfect, but it is your battleground to learn to be that as strong in yourself as a samurai in the face of your wife being irrational and trying to get you to lose your cool so she can use that ammo against you. So if she doesn't want to see how she's starting the argument, she's not going to see it. But you want to, in a not in the heat of the moment, in a calm time, to try to have a tough conversation with her. There's something I would like to discuss and present the facts and the information and a solution. And her reaction will tell you everything if she's going to be willing to change and look at herself or not. There's some good questions in here that need a little more thought to them. So if I don't answer them all, just know that's why. Yeah. Thank you that's a very kind comment, Juan. Thank you. You're incredible, kind, loving, sweetheart. Thanks for being there for us. It's truly appreciated. May God bless and protect you. Thank you. Great. Thank you all so much. Great comments and questions, Phil. Awesome job. Thank you. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the first episode. It's so nice to see so many familiar names. I can't say faces because I can't see all all of your faces. But I appreciate you all so much being here and joining me today for the first live episode. Let me just go over here really quick. Yeah, good for you, CRX Joe. I've tried talking, and thank you very much for your generosity. I've tried talking to her. She can't care at this point. She says one thing, but actions speak louder. So good for you to see that, and now you know that is the reality, that your wife is not willing to follow through with her actions. So then again, that's to you to have that decision model to see where do you go from here. Yeah. Troy, nice to see your name. Troy's been here since the beginning. And C. Kelly, great to see you guys. Thanks for not answering off the cuff. Thoughtful is best for a video that will be seen for years. Yeah, thank you. That's always my approach. If I don't know how I want to answer it right off the cuff, or it just needs more thought, or it's a very sensitive matter, I would rather just zip it and maybe revisit that question another time. So again, yeah, thank you, Phil. Like the show on your way out. Have a nice weekend. It looks like we're going to get a little snow here in Denver today, so I welcome that. It'll be a nice, cozy day with Adam, and I'll see you guys next week. All right. Have a good one. Bye.